We're talking with Mehran Keshe from KesheFoundation.com about a new kind of understanding, I would say, of plasma and obviously magnetic fields as well. And I'd like to begin to ask you here in the second segment, Mehran, about some of the funding issues, I guess, in that sense. Often when we talk with people who are behind new types of so-called free energy devices or, propulsion systems or what have you, funding, implementation, and building of this is always a problem. How have you managed this, Mehran?
What do you mean by that?
In terms of the development of the technology and implementation of it, since you now have a working model, was this paid for by the Iranian government then, or how did you fund this?
No. The technology has been financed by me for past 35 years. The system which achieves gravity was initially tested in Belgium in 2005-2006. In Iran, they received a full knowledge transfer.
And have you tried to, I guess, approach other potential investors about it, to tell them about the potential, applications of this and so forth?
Everybody knows. We've been in a meeting with Boeing. We've been in a meeting with Lockheed Martin. We've been in talk to European, the
Space Agency?
Airbus, European Space Agency. I've met with the head of the fusion of the European projects, ETA, which is about 30 billion they're spending on. We've seen everybody more or less in this game. I've been to China. I've been to Korea. I've spoken and given lectures around the world. No, there is no problem. They're all new, but the only problem is that I think it was a misjudgment. The misjudgment came that people couldn't understand. This has been a misjudgment by a lot of scientists who try to protect their wage package. It's very, very simple. They were the ones who were assessing this technology in early 2000. They were all after old guard, and they don't want to learn something new. By dismissing it the way they protected their jobs for years, they protected their jobs again. But the miscalculation came that there was enough support, there was enough research to justify further evaluation and, developments.
See, I don't understand how these people think, Mehran, but because to me this would open the doors to a whole new line of production, if you will, and in terms of devices and implementations. There would be new plans, all around the world, basically, to come up with devices, right? So this would generate jobs, correct?
Yes, but the way they look at it, we go back to the professor in Leuven University, the head of nuclear in Leuven University. Why does he have to reject such a technology? Very simple. His backers are the biggest electricity generators in Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
But the problem is that sooner or later, these governments cannot pay $140, $150, $160, $180 per barrel of fuel.
I mean, this does make sense again, because at the same time, these governments now are telling us that we need to enter the era of zero carbon output, if you will, as well. Meaning they put so much money into what they claim is new technology developments of wind and solar power. But why do they not look in this direction then, do you think?
The Keshe Foundation has been earmarked by one man because he wanted to take our technology free. And he is powerful enough, or he has enough connection, and he makes enough threats to get people, and he's in a position that he can blacklist anybody in Belgium. And he has supporters who do the same thing, echoing the same thing further. But the only thing is, which has fed the whole thing up in the past 3 years, was because we were blocked in Belgium, because we were blocked in the West to do things, to show our technology, going to Iran, they gave them another arm. And that is now they've classified Keshe Technology or Keshe Foundation as a terrorist organization because it supports Iranian nuclear technology. So now they waited enough, now they have an excuse. But it's a good excuse. Let them have it. Now Iran is the head of space technology by 50 to 100 years than NASA.
See,
the only thing, sorry about that, but the only thing they will soon realize, is when the Iranian lands wherever they like without being detected.
The question here, obviously, Mehran, is will the Iranians be, I hate to use this word, but allowed then by the Western governments to go ahead with this, or will they be will they try to prevent this?
We don't need anybody to allow us. We can lift from the back of the house. We don't. The Western countries' control is finished. They have no control. This is a homemade system. This is a system which costs a few $1,000s to manufacture, not billions. Mm. This is a system which is versatile and it can be used for any application. They have no control. The control of the West is within their pocket now. The game is over. Japanese, the Chinese, the Indians, and the Brazilians have shown. The West is keeping a persona of self-cocooning.
And the monetary system over here is, crumbling before our eyes as well. So there's not much, effort left in that either soon. We just have to see what happens there. But
it's a dog without the teeth, as we say. It's just a bark.
Right. You mentioned a very powerful individual earlier, Mehran, in terms of who has been trying to blocking you, contacts, and so forth. Can you mention names?
We have given it to the journalists today. They will publish it.
Okay.
Because this guy is known as a gatekeeper for the whatever gatekeeper. I don't know what a nation needs a gatekeeper for, but at the same time, he's highly involved in the pedophile organizations in Belgium.
Ah.
So that's how they protect themselves. So he is highly connected with the pedophile organization, so he knows how to bribe people.
This is a problem that I've been expecting, that this is the reasons too. We've heard about these things propping up not only in Belgium, of course, but around Europe and the Western world and other countries as well. So where do you want to take things in the next step here? I mean, again, I asked you a little bit about funding.
The next step we are very clear.
Yeah.
At the moment, by April of next year, we will open the International Space Institute of Keshe Foundation. We already have put a forum up for it. We already have put a website for it. We bought a domain name. Within the next few weeks or next coming time, we will acquire the property to establish the institute. And we recruit scientists from around the world. We are already out looking for appropriate properties that we can accommodate every year 100 students, which means within the first 5 years we'll have 500 scientists from around the world with their different expertise. And that is our target, but till then we are still going ahead because there is a lot to be done. There is still 4 more books to be written, or it's already been written to be finished. One is how the universe works, how the universe is created. There is no Big Bang theory. And there's a book which is how the solar systems work, because these knowledges we need to be able to travel within the space of the galaxies and the space of solar systems. There is a book written about the universal order of creation, which means how things like beings like us are created in the universe, and how we operate and how we use this knowledge in our medical application. So all this has to be done. We've got a priority list that these books become the lecture point view for the or the institute which we are setting up. And then our students will show the first gravitational system. Our students in the university within the first 12 months, 24 months, will organize the first trips to Moon and the Mars. No, we won't do it. I will not take such a step, but it'll be done by the institute and the students from around the world.
Mm-hmm. Is this
that's the target?
Is this in terms of the university that you mentioned? Will this be something that might be happening in a virtual space and online courses, for instance, or will it be a physical place?
We've been asked about that when we are looking into it. If they block us to get visa permission for our students to arrive, then that's an option we have, and they know it.
Yeah.
Because if you open a university in Belgium and they block us to give the students visa to come in to live here for 3 or 5 years to finish their Space Institute program, then we have to find, and somebody on my forum has put that option on where we cannot dismiss it as viable option.
So would anybody from around the world be welcome, and would they have to have certain things in the background already?
It's different aspects of things. We are looking for different things for different people. We don't need everybody to be cosmologists. We need people who understand the structure of computer programming, they understand system control. We recently had through our forum a gentleman who appears to be a pilot for a jets, for 737s, who was offered to come in as or whatever to teach pilots or whatever. We need all sorts because we cover every aspect of. It's like you opening building up a new city in the middle of the desert, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think a guy who knows how to do the water work, the guy who's a medical guy, going to be a doctor. We need a plumber, electrician, and everything else. And in our field, because we are going for a total colonization by 2020, we need to have all the expertise. And we need from every culture and every nation. We are not making it exclusive to the Iranians or the Belgians.
Right.
Our foundation has one principle for the institute, and it is, especially the first 5 years, we take from every nation 1 or 2 people maximum.
Mm.
So if you are South African, or if you are Belgian, or Swedish, or American, there's allocation. So that many people will be accepted to come in each year. So
that's still, you're talking about probably around 400 people then, if people from all over the world do apply, 1 or 2, depending on 2 to 400 people. Funding to get this going, is that done by you? Not a problem at this point?
Yes, done by foundation. And foundation will raise its own funding.
Right.
And we are on course.
So
we are on course. Then no government can dictate to us who to pick or what to pick.
Right. Well, that's excellent. That's a great idea. I really like that. And so, do you suspect people will be able to apply for this, and will this be funded by the student?
Half full. We are nearly half full to full for the first year.
Okay, there you go.
But the thing is, because we put it on the forum, a lot of people came, a lot of people read the forum, they say, oh, I would like to be part of this and part of that. Mm. But I presume out of the, let's say, people we have a full school at the moment, when you vet them out, and most probably after vetting, there'll be about 30, 40. And I'm sure when after the beginning of next year, we announce the full opening, then you will receive a lot more applications.
Interesting. So, do you suspect them to graduate, if you will, within a year, or how long will this take? Do you think for people to go through?
5 to 6 years.
5 to 6 years. There you go.
Yeah.
And is it a complete education in terms of how the physics work and
Yeah, because they have to understand to think the same way as we do.
That's right.
Because when they start understanding, then they will run with it. Yeah, as I keep on saying, it's like your computers. When the computers came 40, 50 years ago, nobody knew. But now half of the world population workforce works through computer or with the computer somewhere.
That's right.
And this will be the same.
So
exactly the same.
Is your goal, Mehran, to get people then who graduate from your university to go out into the world, if you will, and set up their own, if you will, maybe companies that are beginning to produce some of these things, teach other people, etc.?
Keshe Foundation will open through them in every country they go back to. So, in a way, we train, and our people, the people who are trained by us, is coming into foundation to be trained, that they become the directors and set up the same organization to check back in their own countries. So, no nation will be ahead of the other one, and no nation will have a superiority to be with the other one. So, in a way, you cannot sell and let's say military craft which does 40, 50 times the speed of the sound, because everybody else have it. Why do they need to pay you?
Right.
You understand?
Right.
Now we are running a seed program. We want to know if we can produce seeds through nanotechnology that they are weather resistant, summer, winter, cold, whatever. We want to see if they behave different, and we can have seeds which do not need. The droughts can't kill them, and the frost can't kill them. Mm-hmm. So there will be no shortage of harvest.
So this is one application potentially for the nanotechnological aspects. Is there anything else about that? Because that's another whole very, very fascinating area, of course, of
Yeah, we opened in nanotechnology with the solid state gases. We are producing gases at the solid state at room temperature.
And what benefits has that, Mehran?
In our medical application and in a computer, we can build computers which work like brain, at the speed of brain. So this is what I explained in one of the interviews. So we don't have the restrictions of wires and nano layers and all that, because we can produce now, the knowledge is there, and we have recently the first prototypes of cell-like structures in the magnetic field essence have been tested in the past week, 10 days, which means now we are going in the process of computers without the boundary, but working as faster than the speed of the brain, human brain.
If you don't mind me asking, how many people do you have working in the foundation?
No, I do all the developments, but behind the places where the research are going on, there's a lot of people.
Okay. So...
Yeah, all the, what they call it, the stupid thinking comes from my side. Okay. And I build it, because as I said before with the Americans, they said to me, the problem with you is when you talk, you show us the system, so we can't say anything. Don't forget I'm an engineer by training. And I have diplomas in building, using machinery. So I don't need to think and wait for somebody to build me something. When I think of something, I go and build it myself.
And that's a great way to do it. Just do it yourself, and doesn't matter what everybody else thinks.
I don't need to explain to nobody. I don't need to explain to what I do, because when you explain, you get diverted. With my way, I do it, and I see it, and I think about it, and sometimes I do something and it doesn't work, and about 2 years later, I say, oh, I know where I made a mistake, why it didn't work. I go back to the same system. And you say, now you know the mistake.
So what makes you different, do you think, Mehran? Why do you understand this so well then?
I don't understand it. I've just looked at it in the realistic way, not the way we've been forced to understand.
I see.
The way of teaching in the world of education at the moment is that we have to learn even if it's a mistake. And we can't put anything new in. And with me, it doesn't work that way. If I don't understand it, I try to understand it, and when I understand it, I see what's the easiest way to get to it. And it makes a lot of difference when you understand it and remembering it. And we develop the technology that way.
So you do have a different way, obviously, of looking at problems, right? In that sense, you have a capability there.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe sometime when you get old, you look at things different way. But with me, it has been years of research, really years of fight. I've written some 400 papers, which initially we wanted to release some of it, and we released the first paper. And in recent past, I released a very, very interesting paper, which is from the Royal Academy, Astronomical Society of England.
Mm-hmm.
That in the paper, I submitted the paper for peer review, dated the 7th of July, 2005, 6, whatever it is. That we released the paper that the black holes leak. Material comes out of the black holes. Not everything goes in. And to hold the truth, one of the world scientists famous for black holes says, I'm going to make an announcement on the 8th of the 7th that I've changed my mind that black holes leak, and he lost his shirt as a bet. And he went to Dublin on 21st of July. Now, so I changed my bet, my concept about black holes. How come he never changed his mind for 30 years?
Mm.
When we released the paper for peer review, Mr. Stephen Hawking changed his mind.
It was Stephen Hawking. Yeah, I was going to say that.
I have a paper. I'm prepared to put it on internet for everybody to see. Dated 7th of July, the day before he announced he's going to announce he's changed his mind.
So you suspect he sneak peeked on your paper?
I don't suspect, huh?
You know.
He is a leading peer reviewer in black holes.
Yeah.
And we gave the paper in April of that year for peer review, where the letter from the institute says we keep this in the archive, in the library of the society, which means we know you've been screwed. So, Mr. Stephen Hawking, you're welcome to the land of crooks, as I say.
Well, yeah, there you go then. So, but do you find it difficult? I mean, you mentioned this, that it was a problem here is to describe, I guess, in one sense, to other people. Maybe not specifically then some of these papers that you've released, because people like Stephen Hawking seem to be able to understand that. But do you find it difficult to make people understand some of the other applications of your work, Mehran?
There are two things with me. First of all, I am English illiterate, so it means I don't understand English. I write in English because I lived there 30 years. I always had personal secretaries, so I never had to do letters. From the day I graduated, I always had personal secretaries. For that reason, I could never write properly. So my English is in a very simple way. It's in a very simple language. So everybody can understand. And a lot of people tell me, why don't you get it this, done that, done that? I tell you something. I spoke about IMEC and the people from the people who came into the professor in Leuven University with me. One of them in a meeting got very cross. He said, the problem with you is that you write it so simple, such a huge language of science, what you discovered, in such a simple language that it cannot be written this way. It loses its value. I said to him, I write in such a simple language that a black man in the back villages of Africa has the same position to understand what you understand as a doctor, as a professor here. That he cannot abuse him anymore. And that's how I write, in a simple language. You can understand. Even my medical application, people who read my Structure of the Light book, they understand fully everything of it. They don't have a knowledge in physics.
Okay, I see, because I just wanted to, excuse me, entertain briefly that potentially the people that you have been working with actually did not understand some of the things you were saying, therefore we're kind of discounting it, but I guess that is not the reason then. No,
they understand it too well what is danger to them.
I see. So,
I thank the Belgian government, let me say something.
Sure.
I would love to thank, and I like to thank, the officials in the Belgian hierarchy in facilitating a lot of evaluation by my technology. But on the other hand, they know people in the system, in the Belgian government, have abused it to turn things the way it suits them. There's nothing wrong working in Belgium. There's nothing wrong. All the Belgian, Keshe Foundation team are Flemish, Belgians. I'm proud of the people I stand next to as part of the Keshe Foundation because they give 100%. But we got stuck with one crook, which has got a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, and he makes a lot of threats.
So how do you see going around him then? How do you proceed?
You don't need. He's the most insignificant man in the smallest country in the world. You understand? Right. So why should I bother with him? If I would have bothered with him, I would have battled with him for the past 5 years. I carry on. That man will sooner or later kick the bucket, as they say in English somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's a great idea, I think, in one sense, just try to ignore these people, and just carry on with your own stuff, right?
Yeah, we never waste. There's one philosophy and one thing within Keshe Foundation. We don't spend time crying over the spilled milk.
Sure, absolutely.
And we don't cry to defend. We did, in respect to Canadian situation, we did, because a lot of things has to be put right. But we don't spend time. We don't really spend. I was spent today, whole day, with 5 people who seriously, desperately need my medical application. No, I haven't spent time with them, and I'm very clear when I meet them. I'm not here to help you. I'm here to add more knowledge to my foundation's, portfolio.
Right.
You're a volunteer. You know where you're sitting across the table from me. And I'm not here, I'm no doctor, so I'm nothing. We are scientists. We think we can find a way to do the thing where the doctors have not found any cure for you. We are prepared to do it. You pay for it. You pay us to do it for you. And then what we learn, it will help the next person.
Right.
And they understand what we are doing. So it's very simple. We are helping each other to help our future generation in the correct way. Now,
there's another aspect here to your work that I find fascinating as well, and that has to do with Well, fusion, I guess, and I don't know if this specifically is cold fusion, but this has also to do, obviously, by creating or making generators for individual houses, right? Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yes, that comes back to what we started this conversation between you and me, that we make dynamic magnetic fields like planetary system. That's why we have the shielding, yeah? That shielding is a magnetic field. It's a dynamic magnetic field. It's like Earth, magnetic field, which rotates. At the moment, what do we do in the power stations? What was the purpose of what happened in Japan? We use nuclear, coal, oil, whatever. The whole purpose of using all these fuels is to boil some water.
Yeah.
We boil the water to create a steam to put it through the turbine. And we turn the turbine, all that, to move or rotate a beam which has got so many magnets stuck on it that when this magnet rotates within a copper coil of the system, generates electricity. Now, I told you we create a magnetic field like the Earth atmosphere at no cost. So I can put my system in the middle of the coil without burning any fuel, without needing a steam, without needing a turbine, without needing a rotor.
Mm-hmm.
So that magnetic field gives you power, gives you electricity. I'm not dependent on the winter, summer, solar cells, God knows whatever happens. And when I fuel it for 30, 40, 50, 100 years, that system will create a magnetic field which rotates. I can increase its size to cover more of the coil. I produce 10 kilowatt. I can reduce its strength. I produce 1 kilowatt. That's the simplicity of it. We don't need to go to elaborate condition to do all sorts of things to create a rotating magnet. Now I do the same thing with a small disk. And that's where it comes from.
So this can... These devices obviously can run basic appliances in the house, and can you choose then how much output you want, or how does that work?
Yeah, it adjusts itself. It goes per demand. As you increase your demand, one of the things we're discussing now is a 10 kilowatt. There's a law in Belgium, for example. You cannot produce more than 10 kilowatts. You know, like people who have the solar cells then become a producer if they produce more than 10 kilowatt. You know, the solar panels on the roofs. So now people are asking us, can we buy 4 or 5 of them to see all the demands of the house? I said, yes, but the problem you have, you become an energy producer. Then you have to sort out with your electricity board or electricity company.
Why?
Do they want 1,000 houses to put 50 kilowatt in? Because the system will always call for whatever is available, huh?
So you can't develop it as its own closed system for the house alone?
Yeah. As long as you're not connected to a main outside, yeah.
Right. Because otherwise, if you're not connected to the main plug, if you will, in that sense, you don't need to ask for their permission to do this, correct?
No. It's like when you have a generator in your house, huh?
Exactly.
So you use it because the problem with the solar cells and most of the what do you call it? What I call them fans in the sky. It's that they are dependent on the condition, environmental condition. The solar cells depend if it's sunny, if it's warm. Winter time you can't produce any electricity. Night time you can't produce electricity. Where we produce constant 3 or 10 kilowatt, day come, day go, night comes, night go. So you're never short of energy.
So, are these available now, currently? If I'd like to get my hands on one of these devices now here up in Sweden or another country in Europe, let's say, how would I go about to do this?
Well, some of the European people have already paid the deposit for it for next year delivery. We will deliver next year as part of the International Institute.
And so these are, do a person put these together themselves so they come fully?
No, it'll come pre-packed. You just connect it and that's it. We most probably give you a plug. You plug into your main at your meter or at your entry of the whole house.
So is this a standard output of, what is it in Europe now, 220, right, or something like that?
220, you choose. You can have AC and a DC. We know our system produces both at the same time.
Okay, yeah.
In a way, you can use for LED. We're running tests on LED lights now at the moment, where LEDs at the moment with the solar systems, you have a converter, your inverter, that you convert the DC of the panel into AC to use at home for your domestic use.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want, for example, to put the LED lights, then you have to change it back to DC again. So these systems produce both AC and a DC. So you can run what you like on the AC and what you like on the DC.
So, so how much is the deposit and how much is the final device?
€500 is for the 3 to 4 kilowatts, and 5,000 is when we announce to you your unit is ready to pick.
5,000.
And it's your 5,000 for the 3 kilowatt, which is nothing. It's very cheap. And then it's your job to ship it, and it's your job to arrange your agreements with your government for your taxes and your usage of the system. Because I think very soon the governments will put taxes on this system because you're becoming independent. So government loses revenue on your electricity and the taxes on BTV, you call it. So sooner or later governments will put some sort of taxation on these units.
So the unit is a standalone. You don't need to put anything into it or something like that, correct?
Size of a briefcase.
And you don't need to. It doesn't run on anything, right?
No. You don't burn. The mentality of burning is finished when you use magnetic fields. A magnetic field, plasmatic magnetic field of an atom lasts for billions of years. An atom doesn't disappear tomorrow.
Sure.
You leave a gold here, it's still gold when you come back in 1,000 years. If it decays, it becomes something else, which is still the same thing. So what we do, we go into the plasma of the proton, and we open it up. For that atom to be here for billions of years, it means it's like a clock unwinding. It has to unwind very slowly, and all the time keeps a certain magnetic field strength that you see it as a proton. What we do, we go and tap into that real matter or a magnetic field, and we take out what we like from it and which strength we like. So in a way, we don't burn anything, we don't use anything. When we seen this one in our initial test, we caused a lot of damage with a lot of our systems because we couldn't understand this. Because every time we use our system and we wanted to restart, all the circuitry and everything else used to burn. All the motors used to burn. I could not understand how I'm creating so much havoc. Till I found out I don't put some of my matters back together again. So I was releasing, for example, a lot of antimatter out of the system. And circuitry can't stand such a huge surge of energy. So now we learn to how to allow our plasma to close. We don't release plasma prematurely.
So how many of these have you built already? I mean, can people already put in
deposit?
deposit?
I built, when I need to test, I build. When I need to test, because there are certain things, again, goes back to the government situation, yeah? Mm-hmm. We will not announce anything till we sort our position with the Belgian government.
But people can...
Because wherever we go, it'll follow us. So what's the use of going to America or going to England or going to Sweden or going to wherever?
Right.
This thing has to be sorted. And once it's sorted with one nation, why not where I already live and we've done so much investments in doing a lot of things here.
But people who put in deposit now, they can expect their device next year then, by this time?
Before end of next year, yeah.
End of next year, okay. So
before end of next year. We don't give a date because it can cause a lot of problems, but we received even deposits from China.
There you go. So what do you think will happen then? When you, I mean, if this is sold now, people will try it out by this time next year or earlier, and everything is working as you've said, as promised. What will happen then, do you think? Will the demand skyrocket for these? What will happen, do you think?
I presume so. Our target is two things, twofold. Why we said we're going to put 10,000 units out. Our units, the minute they touch, anybody wants to replica, they will destroy themselves internally. So you never see what's inside. The mechanism will be set that way. Secondly, why we didn't put 1 or 2 units or, like demonstrations to go out and show something, as you said, get a cameraman running around with you showing he does this.
Sure.
Is that to show we are capable of commercializing on the heavy side. It's twofold. We are not here to show something and go. We are here we will be the force to be reckoned in energy and in space. We don't need to say anything. We've gone quiet because the Iranian government has already announced what we announced 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the energy is the 6th, and then there's the medical application. But our main target and the focus now is initially the Institute next year, and first flight to moon by 2015, 2016, on a regular basis, on a daily basis flight. And then 2020 we have enough, 2018 we have enough knowledge, maybe before that, and colonization and move to the Mars.
So who will get to go to the moon or Mars? Are you going to be in there?
Why not? If I'm alive, they don't kill me. Why not? Right. Because we are still saying, because you see, the thing is, with this technology, we won't be weightlessness. The weightlessness doesn't exist.
It's a creation of gravity as well into this, right?
Yeah. We create gravitational system. So we at the moment I'm doing some tests that we make sure that everywhere within the system is 1G.
All right.
Yeah?
So it doesn't matter how fast the vehicle goes. You mentioned 35 Mach
before. How fast the vehicle goes. It's just,
Right.
yeah. It's in a way, if you look at the speed of electron around the proton, the matter inside it don't turn and chunk and whatever, huh? It's the same matter in the same position. So, because once you create that magnetic field and once you create your own shield and once you create your gravitational system, doesn't matter what happens outside. Internally, you have your own life. It's like on Earth, huh? We have 1G. Doesn't matter what we fly, we jump, we dive, whatever we do, we are within a cocoon of Earth. Doesn't matter what happens on Mars or Jupiter. We create the same system. Once you understand how to create gravity and magnetic field, you create the same cell, the same oyster. What happens outside the oyster is irrelevant. But the cover of our oyster is our magnetic field.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, wow, very exciting. I mean, as you know, Mehran, from my perspective, I have no way of confirming this from my end currently. I read, I listen, but I have not seen any of this work in action, obviously. But you could, if all of this is true, then you have already changed the world, and the application and implementation of this definitely will.
I tell you something, how much we change and how much we are in position of changing. We are running clinical trials on illnesses which are based on what we say about energy and space. Yeah?
Right.
Our clinical trials has got to the point that people who, when I give lectures, who have themselves or their family been treated by it, are telling themselves to tell other people how this thing works and how wonderful it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? We have a gentleman who could not talk 2 weeks ago. Within a few days, for the first time in some time in years, he can talk, communicate with his wife using the same knowledge.
So did he come to you guys? Where is it? Were he in Belgium?
Yeah. They're Belgium. They come from. We got people coming from all over the world.
Okay. Yeah.
I have people flying in from Western Bloc, or what we call Eastern Bloc.
Right.
Now we got people from America booked in to come in because there is no solution for our diseases. Yeah. So people are coming to us through. And not because we say so, because they've seen people who have used it and they know what it does. The word of mouth has gone so fast, huh? because they see the results in a week, in 10 days' time. The guy who cannot walk one step, in 2 weeks' time, he's walking 52 steps, 52 meters. And that's not mine, it's the report which comes from the family. They have to email me every day. Huh? Yeah, we have a woman who's been epileptic for 30 years. 150,000 tablets taken over her life. Within 4 months, no tablets, no attacks. We don't need to, because people are there. They talk to each other. Huh? Doesn't matter what governments say.
No, it's true.
Huh?
It's true.
So they see each other, they go on.
This is, this might eventually then turn into almost like, if you will, that sounds a religious gathering, right? Of spontaneous healing, where people from all over the world gather to get healed by
yeah,
device,
but the thing
right?
is, at the moment, Belgium is that we've been put in that position.
Right.
Yeah, we've been put in that position. But sooner or later, that's why we brought up the institute. Keshe foundations will be opened up in every nation, and that's your focus of our programs there.
So this is very, very interesting. Again, so many different types of applications of this kind of understanding. And we talked, I guess, a little bit earlier about your long-term goal, Mehran, in terms of what you want to set up, how you want to do with the space institutes, the medical application, and so forth as well. In the in the more intermediate future, though, what is your plans now? What are you going to work with in the months to come here?
At the moment, a lot of concentration is going on the medical application, because suddenly, with the Iranian announcement, they have a spaceship program. A lot of people have come for different aspects of the technology to us. And the immediate target is we got a gap. We know where our weakness is. The weakness is for next few months to strengthen the medical side, to gather as much knowledge as possible, that we are fully available, ready to be able to support life outside Earth, that we don't depend on the surgeries and pharmaceuticals with the new diseases and viruses which we will come across. So the first system, unified system, should be built before March of next year. What we'll do, we'll ask so many people, for example, to come with different diseases and use the same machine for their own disease. And we'll see the results. Once we achieve that, we are ready to go. But on the other hand, I'm looking at the German technology and the Russian technology of diagnosing the diseases. And there is not a viable condition. We've done a trial case early this year in Belgium with the headphone system, which is supposed to give you a noise in your ear and tell you what is wrong, but it didn't satisfy me that it's viable. So there is a gap. We lack knowledge in the part of diagnosing. We know how to more or less heal, but now we need to increase our knowledge within the next few months how to diagnose the disease, which I've developed this now through the blood results. But we are at the earliest stages. I think by January we should be able to start diagnosing from the blood and use the diagnosis for using the system to heal.
So do you know how this works, or was the medical aspect just a side effect of what you developed, Mehran?
There is no side effect from the medical application because we're running it for 6-7 years with volunteers. But on the other hand, it will bring into position that we do not need. It depends how they implement it with different governments on Earth. But in a way, when we go to space, we do not need to rely or bring people back to Earth if we find a new virus or we catch something new or you have a heart attack and you are a stroke patient. So that is our objective. That's our prime plan. And then if it touches the Earth economy or the job, that is something the governments have to decide.
Do you suspect if you go ahead with the international space, program, if you will,
yeah,
will you be allowed to travel into space? I mean, isn't the airspace of countries?
We don't need. They don't detect us. How can they allow us? This is what goes back to Iranians. You said, would the government, for other governments, would allow Iran to go ahead? They can allow Iran to go ahead if they could detect what Iran is doing.
But they can't, you say?
They can't detect it. These systems are undetectable, and with the present knowledge. Yeah?
Yeah.
So they cannot restrict me when they can't see me.
So
it's not catch
right.
me if you can. If you can't catch me, so you can't.
Right. So in regards to how this would look to others then, would this be simply nothing? Would it be invisible? Or would we see this when a craft takes off as a UFO?
What we see in our experiments, let me make something very, very clear. When we run our systems, as long as the magnetic field and gravitational field is within the structure of the system, we don't see anything. But once the magnetic field comes beyond the boundary of the system, passes the reactor, or whatever, the magnetic field of the system interacts with the magnetic and gravitational field of the Earth. And then on those edges you see a shimmering light. You see it, it's like a light growing. If we increase the intensity of the magnetic field by means of increasing the more usage of antimatter in our reactors, we see a stronger light. The more we reduce it, we see a slight light. It's very much when you go into a room, you have these flicker switches that you turn and you adjust it how much light you want.
Sure, dimmer.
It's exactly the same concept. It's exactly the same principle. As we increase our, dynamic magnetic field strength, at the point of interface, you see a stronger light. At the beginning, you don't see anything, but as it passes the boundary and increase the field, you see a stronger light. It's very, very much like what I said. You switch it, you turn it, you get a more magnetic field, two magnetic fields of the Earth and the planet and the system interact, they have an interface. That is the point where you see the shimmer. That's what they call it UFO. There is no UFOs. Now we know how to make it, and we've done it, and we see it.
So wouldn't that, though, be able to be visually detected by governments and say, what the hell is that?
Yes, you can visually see it, but you can't do anything about it.
Right.
And secondly, you can hit a missile, so you can direct a missile to it. Two things. A missile goes to 3,000 kilometers an hour, let's say, These systems goes 40,000-50,000 kilometers. Secondly, these systems carry a dynamic magnetic field, it's like the Earth, like our Earth magnetic field, So when it comes to in two ways, gets absorbed and it gets burnt out on the entry, or it gets bounced off. So you can't get an entry. There's no way, especially we developed a multi-layer for a deep sinking, because we can go into the water as much as we can go out of in the air. Yeah. So we have a multi-layering, which means penetration is impossible. I've tried it. You can't get a nail in it.
I mean, we've seen some of these kinds of sightings already, if you will, Mehran, both in terms of witness accounts, but also in some cases rare video as well. Do you believe that this is other human beings then who've made this, or is this ET who have this same technology? What do you think?
I don't know. The Keshe Foundation has a technology which, when we cross the boundary of our system, we see lights. You call it what you like.
Right.
I'm not here to say there are other intelligence. I believe we are not the only creatures in the world, and I believe we are not the only intelligent. We are at the bottom. In the scale of intelligence, we are somewhere at the bottom, because we're still fighting to prove. A man who has the intelligence, a man who is wise enough to know how the universe works, will never fight, because he can make whatever he needs. So what do you fight for? And what do you fight for?
Absolutely. I mean, we are in a really, humanity as a whole, and at least those who are in a position who, wish to control us, are definitely operating on their so-called base reptilian levels of consciousness. And we're trying to get away from that, obviously, and enlighten people further, as it were, with programs like these. I mean, we really appreciate your time today. And I mean, if you... who knows where you will be in terms of recognition, or in terms of potential.
We are not looking for recognition.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying that's all. Meaning that by the time of this year, next year, you might be incredibly busy in terms of media that want to, get an interview with you, if you will. In that sense, we
are open to every media. We are open to every media, but the thing is, at the moment, there is one thing which is turn the tide, and this is the situation now. A government says they have a technology, which we said we given to them 2.5 years ago, which we said we given it to them, and now they say they have it, because even a year ago they were talking about the rocket Shaheen 1 and Shaheen 2 and the rest of it. So even they know their own rocket technology is obsolete.
Yeah. Well, that is true, and it's truly extraordinary. Obviously, if all these things that we've been talking about here today is true. Again, as I mentioned before, I just want to reemphasize that I've no way of confirming this, but I'm definitely going to keep my eye on this, because it sounds very, very interesting. If I put it that way, Mehran. And
you're quite welcome. It's up. You have to be cautious, because there are other claims all the time.
Sure, I mean, that's just the nature of this.
That is correct. That is very correct. But there's a guy who's going to, we always say, he's started the Keshe Foundation at scam.com, and he says it's scam. Unless you show me the UFO, you're a scam.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sends us an email, as we always say. He says, I'm a schizophrenic. Can you help me, please? So you can join the schizophrenic, or you can be part of the scam, but we carry on with our work.
Yeah.
One way or another, we receive enough support to carry on.
The proof will be in the pudding, as they say, and we'll keep on watching what you're doing.
The pudding is the people who's alive. The pudding is the woman who can come out of MS, who's come out of the MS. We put her picture on.
Yeah.
The pudding is in a man with a Parkinson who could not talk. Now he talks. And the word of mouth has caused a lot of extra work for us.
Yeah, well, I can imagine, of course.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first year we used to look if you find 5 or 10 people to come and see us. If you could find 10 people for our medical application, it was a wonderful year, huh? Now I'm between 5 to 10 a day.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's all gone with the word of mouth.
All right, well, we're not going to keep you any longer than here for today, at least. We definitely would like to invite you back at a later point, Mehran, to touch base with you again, if you indeed would be interested and even have the time at that point. We'll see. Problem. But, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. We'll keep an eye on this and follow your work, obviously. But why don't you leave us again with your website then and mention some of your book titles that you have out there as well for people?
Yeah, the website is called www.keshe, Keshe Foundation.com, and the book is called The Universal Order of Creation of Matters, and the second was called The Structure of Light. And everything else within the foundation is connected to each other. You can go to our space technology, KesheSpace.com. You can go to Keshe Institute and the forum of the foundation. And in a way, we are looking for people who would like to be part of the space program with the knowledge of a space. We don't want people we have to teach. Not at least in the early stages. You become a passenger later on.
Okay. Well, sign me up as a passenger, that's for sure. I'd love to take a ride. But
thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time today, Mehran. We really appreciate it. Keep up the great work, and we'll stay in contact about this.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That is our program for now, and of course time will reveal more about some of these details that we've been talking about, and we will keep an eye on it as well. We'll be back in just a few days, and we invite you to listen then. In the meantime, have a great day or evening. Thanks to everyone at Red Eyes and to you for listening and for staying with us as a member. We'll talk more soon. All the best.